Hello, hello, hello. Hi, and welcome. I am Sylvia Hayes, and you are watching Good News at Prime Time. Tonight, our topic is woke. Woke, when our knowledge expand. Woke. And this topic came to me from reading an article on Florida's Governor Ron DeSantis. I mean, what he's doing down there, it really boiled my bubbles. To be honest with you, they have passed this law. It's called Stop Woke. Okay, they don't want people to be educated about their history. And when I saw that he did not approve of a course for African American studies, I'm going, what? How can you not approve that? It's like all my life, I've been studying white history, white history, white history, white history. The only thing they told me in school when I was in high school was black people were enslaved, and that was it. Everything else, white history, white history, white history. And now he want to disapprove of black studies. Why? It's like we want to know our heritage. Okay, we want to know our heritage. We don't want to know about you all the time. Okay, but he's afraid that when black people learn about the history or the white people learn about their real history, that they're going to be shamed, embarrassed. Okay, but yet still they continue to create history that should make them embarrassed now. The stuff that they're doing, the policemen are doing, the stuff that people are doing, the regular citizens are doing, it should make them embarrassed and ashamed of their race if it's the race that's doing it. But yet and still they want to erase what will not bring up the past, but they continue to make history. Continue to make history of this ill doing. And that's not cool. That's not cool. I think the parents should be should make all of this. The parents should be responsible, should I say, of teaching their children their history and culture. If you can't get it in school, parents should teach it to them. Of course, a lot of parents don't know their history either, but there are books, computers. The information is there if you will pick it up and learn it. And a lot of people are learning their history. A lot of people are waking up to what really happened. And DeSantis is afraid of that. A lot of people are afraid of that. That's why they don't want to teach the history in school, because they don't want the past brought up. Okay, they don't want to dig out those worms. Okay, so that's our topic. We're talking about woke, being woke. My book, we got to talk about the book too. Okay, one of these days I'm going to get it right. Power Thoughts, empowering you to be successful in life. This is a very powerful book. It make you think, and you want to get that book. Okay, you can get it at AandKproductions.com. AandKproductions.com. That book will empower you to think for yourself. Okay, to do things for yourself. Get the book. You won't regret it. When you get this book, you're gonna want everybody else to have it. Power Thoughts, empowering you to be successful in life. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and bring on my guest. Oh, Power Thought for the day. The Power Thought for the day: learn all you can about everything you can. Okay. Learn all you can about everything you can. Just learn everything. All you can about everything, okay? Because knowledge is power. Just remember that knowledge is power. And when you gain knowledge and you get that power, some people are afraid of that, okay? They're afraid of you having that knowledge and that power. So get your knowledge, okay? So we're going to go ahead and bring on my co-host, Mr. Reggie Drummer. Hey, Reggie, how are you today?
What's up there, Miss Sylvia, and what's up with the good news audience? I'm feeling good. I'm woke and I'm ready. I'm woke and I'm ready. Definitely want everybody to like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification button over here, Square Mile Media Atlanta. To get this information, this is a part of staying woke when we bring you the good news. Stay woke.
Yeah.
Once you wake up, it's hard to go back to sleep.
Oh yeah, definitely. When you wake up, you want to stay awake.
Oh yeah,
definitely. So And we also have a guest. We're gonna go ahead and bring her on. Yes, Miss Diva Laria. Hi, Diva. How are you?
Hello, good news at prime time. I'm so happy to be here. Thank y'all for having me. Sylvia, Reggie, thank y'all for having me. Glad to be here. Very important topic we're going over today.
Oh yeah. Go ahead and tell the audience a little bit about you.
All right. Well, I'm Diva Larie. I am owner, founder, CEO of United Nations from America. It is a county or a nation, a sovereign nation. All right. And what United Nations from America is a sovereign nation of sovereigns. Now, we help people get themselves under trust. We help people to learn how to protect themselves from those in the system and really to be able to protect everything, their family, their cars, their child, their houses, their job wages, their marriage, the whole thing. So that's one of the things that we do. And we were founded because we wanted to help those people who wanted to free themselves from the system, who had started gaining all of this knowledge and were getting blocked, to free themselves from the system. So that's why United Nations from America came up. But then once people get these tools, they had no idea or understanding about how to use them. And so that's when United Nations from America or United Nations from America University was created to help you get the knowledge and learn how to use that knowledge so that you can uplift yourself. So that's who I am in a nutshell. And we help people gain their sovereignty and become free from the system, understand what's going on, the ins and outs, how we got in this mess in the first place. So that's what we do.
Okay. Sound like you have a lot of knowledge there.
I know a little something. Just a little.
Just a little something, huh?
Oh, okay. But enough to help people gain their freedom. That's for sure. That's for sure.
Oh, okay. Well, good. Yeah. So we're going to talk about woke. And basically what it is that they don't want us to know our history. But, some of us still remember stuff that happened way back when. I remember when I was a kid, we couldn't go to a restaurant, sit down and eat. If you wanted food from a restaurant, you had to go around to the kitchen and order your food and get it and take it away. If you wanted to get ice cream, you had to go to the window and get your ice cream. You couldn't go in like the white people. You couldn't sit down like the white people. Okay? So that's history right there. They might say that didn't happen or whatever. I remember that you couldn't even work in a bank. A black person didn't work in a bank. Retail stores, black people didn't work in the retail store. That was for white people, and then just to think about sharecropping and how they cheated people out of their food, out of their profits and stuff like that. It's a lot of history that's out there that needs to be told, and our kids need to remember that, to know that. It's a lot.
I would definitely like to add something on to what you were saying, because what we have been told is that we came into this land as slaves. Okay. And I know this is going to maybe upset some people. So all my people out there in Good News at Prime Time, please know. I'm just ready to give you some information. I don't want you to believe me. I just want you to hear me and then go do your own research. All right. So we've been told that we came in as slaves, that we came from Africa. But I need people to know, and this is why what you're talking about is that we have to start educating ourselves. There were original people of this land who looked just like me and you, Brother Reggie, and you, Sylvia, that were melanated people. As a matter of fact, go and look up the term Washita Moors, Mours. Those were dark-skinned people. They were the original people. They're the oldest known people on the planet. Those are dark-skinned people, okay? And so they were people who came supposedly from Lemuria, or the land called Mu, M-U. All right, so I won't go deep into this, but I want to say this. There was another group of dark-skinned people that came into this land that were known as Moors, M-O-O-R-S. Look up the term Moors, M-O-O-R. They came from other lands like Morocco, Tunis, Algiers, Tripoli. These were melanated people from the land that we know of today as Africa. All right. So now, with all that being said, I wanted to add this. I just need to give a background. I wanted to add this. We've been made to think that it was Albion's so-called white people. They're not white. And I'll go over the terms black and white. I won't do it today if you don't want me to, Sylvia. But there's when they came into this land, okay, the people who came into the land, they were melanated people. And the thing is that up until the mid 1800s, melanated people owned businesses. They were bankers, lawyers, judges, doctors. They were all of that. And so there was a shift. And this is what we have to learn. In the mid 1800s is when all kind of things changed. But these people called Moors were running a lot of the things. They were dark skinned. And of course, the original people here were dark skinned. And they were running everything. And they had ownership of all. They had plantations. This is what we're not told. We've been made to think that we've always been beneath or what have you, but that's not the case. And we really got to start researching because, we get mad about when we say they don't want us to know our history, but they are your oppressor. Why would your oppressor ever teach you about your history? And when we start being willing to go and research on our own, we don't have to be mad anymore because the doors are open. The internet is wide open. Anything you want to know or want to find, that's where you got to go. Don't expect your oppressor to teach you that in the school. So when we start being willing, because I can go deep into this history, I love this. And I don't want to spill it all out here today unless you want me to. You let me know what you want me to go into. But one of the big things is the titles that we're calling ourselves. We don't recognize that we are putting ourselves in a lower status. And because we don't know law, we keep falling into traps of this system and we are complaining and upset and angry. But when we gain knowledge, there's no way they can hold us down. No way.
Well, definitely, my sister, I appreciate you dropping that knowledge. You got to continue to drop some knowledge. As a person here in America, once we find out that everything we've been told was either made up or put in place to control us, and that's everything. When we look at the history of America, one of the reasons when you go fast forward, and not just America, when we go around the planet, even what we call so-called Africa today, some of them don't know where they are. We expect to learn from them, and they're like, we learning from y'all, because we just finding out these ain't the names that we call ourselves. Whether it was Kemet, many names have passed because you're looking at over 100,000 years. These people that control this little space, this experimental project we call the United States of America, they only been here for like 400 years. And these people that control Europe, they might go back 2,000 years. Well, when we look at who's been here before, the original people, see, when you start digging, the more you dig, the blacker it get.
Yeah. Can I add something?
Go ahead, sister. Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
One of the things that I found, again, I go back, I appreciate you saying that they've made up the history and told us certain things, because what we have to recognize as people, see, I talk about law, but there's a spiritual side to this game too. There's a mental side to this game too. And part of that mental issue is that when they feed you a story and you buy into it, you create your own past. If people don't recognize that, you create, because everything starts up here in the mind. So when they feed you a story about what your history is, then you create your own past. The same way, when you say slavery, the first thing people think about is some melanated people with handcuffs and chains. That's the first thing they think about. But that's not how it went down. Because even when we go into etymology, meaning the meaning of words, and again, don't believe a word I say, go look it up. But when we go into etymology, look up the term slave. Slave is derived from the term Slavic or Slovakian. Those were Albions, light-skinned people. Those weren't melanated people. So what we're not told is that the original people, the original slaves in North America were Albion, They were Albion people. Slavs and Slovakians, those are Albions. So because we don't know that, then we make up in our minds when somebody says slave, oh, it's our people. But that's not the case.
Right.
Somebody has made that up. Even if you're talking about roots, that's one of the main stories that help put this thing in our mind. But go and look up roots, and you find out the person who wrote the book, they plagiarized it from an Albion. And it was a fictitious book. But the problem, and I'm going to tell y'all the problem with that. The problem is that some of us want to hold on to that imagery, the lies that we have been told. And so when you start getting into the truth about what really happened, it becomes hard to relieve ourselves of that lie. Again, you have made that past true.
Right.
But when we go and do research, we find out now melanated people was doctors, lawyers, judges, bank owners, politicians, anything you can name, melanated people were that in this land first. So if, until we're ready to really recognize or come out of this state of, we were all slaves coming in here. No, the vast majority of us melanated people are indigenous to this land. And I want to go into this, and y'all stop me when I go too far.
Bring it, sister. Bring it.
Just bring it on.
Okay. So one of the issues is that the vast majority of the melanated people here are indigenous to this land. What is the problem? The problem is that if we knew who we were, then we can claim the land, and those who are not supposed to be here, they have to go. But when you keep,
say that again.
When you know who you are, then you can claim the land, and those who are not supposed to be here, they have to go. So y'all got to understand, a lot of people don't know the difference between the United States versus the United States of America. There is a difference. There's a corporation in here that's running things, and people think it is the true government when it's not a government at all. But you keep claiming to be a citizen of it. And every time you say, I'm a citizen, you say, I am a slave. Because that's what a citizen is, a slave to a dead entity. So let me go a little bit deeper. I'm gonna just say it like this. I don't want to go too far because I know, but I would just say it like this. All right. I go back to us not knowing law. Everything in this dimension, it deals with law. And when I say law, I'm talking about universal laws, meaning whatever spiritual energies you put out, you must come back, down to natural law, to the maxims of law, which deal with God's law. And what did God say? What did God say? All the way down to these laws where we're saying things and making contracts and not even recognizing that we're making contracts. So for example, I'm going back to the fact that there are melanated people, the vast majority of us own this land. But when you don't know who you are, you can't claim it. And also when you're saying things like, forgive me, y'all, don't be upset with me, but I'm going to tell you the truth. When you go into court, see, those who are playing this game at a higher level, they know who you are. They need you to take on terms like Black, African American, colored, Negro, descendant of the slaves, minority. Every last one of those terms means you are a lowered status person and you don't have right to anything in this land. That's what it means. When you say I'm Black and you say I'm African American, you are legally saying I'm dead. I don't have title. I don't have rights. That's what you're legally saying. You're saying you don't have any standing. And somebody who doesn't have standing, you don't have a right to anything, any land here. You have disowned your land.
So what should you call yourself then?
Okay. First of all, and I tell anybody this, I don't care what the color of your skin is, a child of God. What? What?
Yeah.
Come on, Diva, come on now. Where's a child of God? No, a child of God. That's where your power is. That's where your power is. When I get into the laws and I help people understand about, look, man's law is all the way down here. What's man's law? Oh, you got to have a seatbelt on, or you can't have a cell phone while you can't have a gun. That's man's law. But God said, I have the right to protect myself and my family. I have a right to my own material goods. Man's down here telling you what you can and can't do. But when you're standing under God, God's law comes way above man's law. And because we don't understand law, see, y'all think I'm just talking about, we gotta register this or register that. God didn't say that. God didn't say, you know what happens when you register something? You're giving it away. God didn't tell you have to give up your property. So we got to learn true law. Okay. So when you're talking about what you call yourself, first of all, a child of God. If nothing else, I don't care what color you are, that gives you a certain set of rights that man can't touch down here. Man can't tell you you don't have a right to a gun. Man can't tell you you can't go over here and over there. Man can't tell you got to register your car or your child or your house or your marriage. Man can't tell you that. When you start doing business with God, man, whatever man says is beneath it. That's what's important. That's when you start learning real law. So when you're saying that, okay, that's the first thing. Secondly, if you're melanated, you got to recognize who you want to align yourself with. All right. What are you calling yourself? At the very least, you got to remember you are an ethereal being. Ethereal. You were always here, always will be. Who am I? I'm an ethereal being of God. Now, if you want to go beneath that, you can be melanated, carbonated, because melanin meaning the melanin in your skin. Now, really, the carbon, if you really of the original people, you're really carbonated. I won't go deep into that, but if you say melanin or carbon, that's fine. At least you're not accepting one of their titles. See, Black, colored, Negro, African American is one of their copyrighted terms. And when you say it, you're putting yourself under their jurisdiction. All of this is legal stuff. And I know it's heavy, but you've got to be willing to educate yourself, because if you're talking about being free, you cannot be free and ignorant. They do not coexist. If you want freedom, you got to be willing to know and study and understand what's really going on. Get these laws. Get the laws. So that now, when it comes time for you to stand, nobody can say you're dead. Nobody can say you don't have legal standing. Nobody can say this land doesn't belong to you. Who are you? I'm a child of God. I'm an ethereal being.
How do you spell this ethereal?
ETHERIAL.
Ethereal.
My sister.
Okay.
I know you're dropping a whole lot. Do you have? Can you tell them a little bit about the straw man?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Let's get on the straw man. All right. So when we're talking about, thank you. You did some homework, Reginal. Reginal has done the homework. Okay. So when we're talking about a straw man, now let's recognize what has happened and how this straw man has come into play. When your mother signs a birth certificate, she has registered you to a corporation called the United States that most people think is an actual country, and it's not. It is just a corporation. All right. When she registered you, she gave consent for them to create a corporation in your all capital letter name. So you've got your upper and lowercase name, and then you have a corporation, which is your all capital letter name. Now, let's understand this. When we're doing business in the matrix. We call it the matrix now. It's a matrix, and they can't do business with the upper and lowercase u. They can only do business with the all capital letter U. That is a corporation. So this is why they had to get your mother to consent, first of all, to create an estate. What happens is your mother's signature is worth money, $1 million today. Okay. When she signs the birth certificate, she's creating what we call a financial instrument. That instrument is traded by this corporation because she gives that over to the state, which turns that over to what we know of as the United States Corporation. All right. Now, if y'all watching, y'all want to get a pen and paper.
I got mine.
So now, how does the straw man come into play? So what happens is that the state, this corporation called United States, has to create another corporation in your all capital letter name in order to get to do business with you. So now they start trading this all capital letter corporation on the stock market. So your mother has given funds to the United States Corporation, which I tell people is like a credit union. It's like a big credit union because it's holding all of the estates of the people. So you got to understand, just like when you go to a credit union and you put money in the credit union, don't you become part owner of that credit union?
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's the same thing with the United States Corporation. You part owner. So, but instead of acting like a banker, which is what you are, you acting like a citizen. You acting like a dead entity. So this all capital letter corporation, you keep calling yourself that all capital letter corporation, and that's what they keep treating you, like a dead entity.
Wow.
You understand? So now what happens is, if you go take a look at your, it doesn't matter, your credit card, water bill, light bill, gas bill, car note, house note, all of them are in that all capital letter name, because you as a spiritual entity, you don't own anything. Your all capital letter name does. All right. And so what we learn to do is to stop acting like the dead entity and stand up as the God being that we are. That's what we do. We learn to take over that. So now that they have been controlling this all capital letter name, you start controlling it for yourself. This is what we're talking about when we say gain knowledge. You have to learn how to take control of that so that they're not treating you like you don't have rights. So let me go back to this, because when they're telling you, oh, driving is a privilege. Yeah, for a citizen, but for a sovereign under God, driving is a right. Do you want privileges down here as a citizen, or do you want rights up here as a child of God? Which one you want?
Rights.
That's all I'm gonna stop right there. I'm gonna let y'all let me know if you have any other questions on that. Did I explain the straw man okay to you?
Yes, ma'am. You know, you bring some things, because when you started looking at a lot of the things that's happening now, sometimes we got a lot of distractions. Some of the things that this so-called government here is doing, if we knew, and there's always been a time that people knew their rights, okay? Because, you know, sometimes people say, well, what was happening to other people during this time period? Well, they weren't under the same rules and guidelines of other people, even though those rules and guidelines are out there. They were operating, as you say, like a sovereign nation. When somebody comes here to the United States, they don't go down to the DMV and get a driver's license, but they drive. They don't go down and take the citizenship test, but they can move around and get around. And if you ever notice, when some of these people do something, they can even, and we've seen movies about it where they can even kill somebody, and you cannot prosecute them on this soil.
Diplomatic immunity.
Yeah, diplomatic immunity. So once we, understand what these things mean, like you said, the terms and all this stuff. But being a sovereign person, what does that give us diplomatic immunity? Well, you know what?
Yes.
Hey, can I say it like this? I don't know. Have you guys ever seen what's that movie? The Zango. And the
Okay.
guy says, he said, "You mean when the Zango came into the town, he rode on a horse, and one of the things the guy said, hey, uh, he's not like them." And then the guy said, "Well, what do you mean?" He said, "Treat him like this guy." You mean like a white guy? No, treat him like this guy. And what it was another guy that they had to give all the rights, all of his, the things that they gave themselves. And when we look at America, under the first Constitution, the reason when they drafted that piece of paper, it gave those people those rights in which they agreed upon. Now, that's like you said, that's a law. But if we look at it as a privilege, we don't read it the same way. We read it like it's something we have to beg for, or those type things. So yeah, but continue, but share with us, because I know sometimes, especially, and I try not to give myself a title. Sometimes I say black, brown, indigenous, foundational America. We got many terms.
Mm-hmm.
And those terms are set to confuse us. Even when we leave out of this place and go other places, I pretty much would rather call myself a citizen or a person of the universe, where I can go where I need to go when I need to go without restriction. Even when you look at passports, visas, things like that, there, and I've seen it in our history. I've seen people that were able, when they had problems over here, they left this place. Whether it be Paul Robeson, when they kicked Eartha Kitt out of America, she went to France, and she could go with no problems. Many people, once they found out who they found out they were not limited to this soil. So maybe you can share with us, without going super deep, but what's some of the powers we get once we find out who we are? We get woke up.
Okay, so one of the things you mentioned, I wanted to talk about this because you said that they treated certain people different, like you talked about Django. All right,
Yeah.
if you go back, there is an interview with Muhammad Ali, right? Muhammad Ali is talking about a memory he had when he was young. He had won, I think he had won his medal overseas of boxing or whatever. He came back into the United States, and he said there was an African that was trying to buy something, because he was like, they sent him around the back. But then the African came in, and he says that they say, oh no, he's different. He ain't like them.
Mm.
Muhammad Ali talking about this, that a memory that he had. So yeah, it has to do with your status and what you're calling yourself. And the thing is, you spoke about something, and I appreciate you saying a sovereign, and you didn't mistake it for a sovereign citizen, because there is a difference. When you say citizen, let us define the term. Citizen means someone who is a slave. You have no rights, you have privileges. You are a slave to the corporation to which you pledge. So if you say I'm a citizen of this state and I'm a citizen of the US, what you said is I'm a citizen of a dead entity. So you got to be dead too. When a sovereign is someone who is a master of self. They have self-mastery, meaning they stand under universal and God's law. And so they don't need to be governed by somebody else, because you got to understand what a government is. To govern means to control. Ment means mind. A government means control of your mind. If you're claiming to be a citizen of a government, you are agreeing to have your mind controlled by this government. You agree to it. So don't be upset when they're not willing to teach you about yourself because you've agreed to be a slave under them. No slave is going to free their slaves. No oppressor, rather, is going to free their slaves. No oppressor is going to free their slaves. So if you enjoy being a citizen, then congratulations. Don't look for freedom. But when you want to be free, then get your knowledge up, and they can't hold you, even if they wanted to. All right. So you spoke about rights. I'll go back to these hierarchy of laws, and I'm keep doing this because there's a hierarchy of these laws. Universal laws are the highest. Underneath them, you got natural law, and then you got what we call maxims of law. Those are God's laws. And when you want your rights, that's where you look. Those rights come straight from the Bible. This is why I have to tell my people who have this issue with the Bible and all of these things they say about it. Okay, but I suggest you go and read that book, because that's where the highest laws, man down here, man's law. As soon as you start claiming God's law, they have to back off. They have to, because they go by, oh, they don't play by the rules. Yes, they do. You just don't know what the rules are. So when we start learning really how to play by the rules and what the laws are, because all of these laws down here, this is man's law. Man's law is purposely created to take away your God-given rights up here. That's why they create laws. Oh, you can't have a gun. Well, wait a minute. God said I could, but no, you can't. But then if you under here as a citizen and you agree to what man said, then you agreed to give up your God-given rights up here. Stop agreeing to give up your God-given rights and learn to stand under God.
So what if you trying to stand up for your rights and they don't understand where you're coming from and they want to press their laws?
Okay, so when you learn, that's what one of the things that we have to teach people, how to stand. First of all, we got to make sure you know the universal laws, because a lot of people don't understand or recognize that a lot of the energies that come upon them is because their own energies. See, one of the things that we recognize with respect to UNA, United Nations from America, we got to understand that we are the ones who are creating our universe. We are creating it with our words, with our thoughts, with our actions. We create it. And when you want to change it, you simply change your mind, change your words, change your speech and the way you act. And everybody around you has to change. It includes the system. See, everybody wants to be upset with the system. I'm mad at the system. They won't do this. They won't do that. But as soon as you right yourself, the system has to right itself. It has to. It doesn't have a choice. So when you have knowledge and the system comes at you, you know how to stand, because you are a sovereign. First of all, you've done all of the things, you put things into place to make sure that you are protected. And then second of all, you're not putting out energies to draw other things to you in the first place. You know what to do. You're going to know what to do. You're not going to have any fear. All right. You're going to be like Neo in the Matrix. Agents come at you. You're going to be like, yeah. All right. You know, you're going to know what to do. All right. You're going to gain that knowledge and that power to where you're willing to stand. I don't have to run because I know who I am. That's what happens. And then the system has to right itself, correct itself. It doesn't have a choice. That's how that works.
Okay.
Any thoughts? I went too deep.
Well, well, you know, yeah, you laid it out and you making it clear, my sister. I appreciate that. You know, here, and often the agreement that we call the founding fathers, they went on similar things, but it was just for them.
It was.
You know, I mean, No. What I'm saying is sometimes these are universal things, but they made it like it was just for them. And when we ask or beg or request, we said, well, because of the Constitution of the United States of America, I'm entitled. I'm. And then they either make a decision whether to grant you this, what they call a privilege, which is something that's universal anyway.
Okay, so let me say this. Who do you think the founding fathers were?
Oh well,
What they
not
look
them.
like?
Yeah,
What they look
they
like?
are. We had rules before laws before they got here.
Okay, so who you think wrote the Constitution or created it?
Uh, I don't know. They say they did.
Who is that?
Uh, the founding fathers, who
What they
George
look like?
Washington. They said he was Caucasian.
Okay, did you think George Washington was Caucasian?
I don't know.
George
Indoctrinate me.
Washington. George Washington was okay. So I'm gonna give you some history. George Washington was melanated. He was descendant. He's a direct descendant of the Queen of England, and she was all the way up until mid 1800s melanated. All royalty was originally melanated. Abraham Lincoln melanated. Everybody in between him and George Washington melanated. They weren't fully albions. They might have been amalgamated, but they had melanin in them. And that's why they used to pick at George Washington, because he had melanin. Now, let's talk about this. I need y'all to go do your homework now.
I'm sitting down. I'm sitting down. I got my book open.
I'm talking to everybody who's watching. I know you've been studying. So, listen, they want you to believe George Washington was the first president, but what the deal was, he was the first crony to the U.S. corporation, which is owned by Britain. All right. There was at least 6 presidents before him in what they called the Continental Congress. But let's understand that the United States of America, rather, was started in 1777. George Washington came around in 1789, 13 years later. So wait a minute, you telling me I got this corporation here that's been going on for 13 years with no president? That doesn't happen in business. It's all business. You cannot have no incorporated anything without a president, a secretary, a vice president, a chair, and all that. You got to have that. Otherwise, it's not considered a legal entity. So there was other presidents, and get this, why they don't want you to know about them? Because they was melanated like me and you, Reggie.
Right. Okay.
And so now you've got this situation where they're telling you, oh, George Washington, first president, and you don't go back and do your research and find out, wait a minute, melanated people wrote this. Then let's get on this. Where did the Constitution come from? Constitution comes from, look this up, the Iroquois Confederacy. Those were the original people of the land. So the people who wrote, came up with the United States Constitution for the United States of America, they were Moors. They were not necessarily from Morocco, but they came from other places. Morocco, Tunis, Algiers, Tripoli. They didn't want to be under the same regime as these other countries. Remember Christopher Columbus. You still think he Albion? Guess what? He was a convert from either Judaism or he was a Muslim. Those are melanated people. The original Jews, melanated. Muslims, melanated. He converted because he didn't want to get kicked out of Spain. So then he goes off because he wanted to find another land for his people so that they don't get persecuted for the color of their religion. They don't get persecuted because of their religion. These are the same people who came into the land and they created what we know of as the Constitution for the United States of America. People think it's based off of Christianity. It's not. People think it's based off Islam. It's not. It's based off of the whole respect for whatever your religion is. You have the right to it as long as you're not doing harm to people. That's what it came about. And it's based on the Iroquois Confederacy. Go look it up. That's from that Iroquois Confederacy comes from the original people of the land. All right. So people telling you, oh, then they tell you this, what they tell you, oh, them Europeans came in here and enslaved the Indians. Who were the Europeans? I need y'all to listen. Don't believe Diva? Go look it up. The original Europeans were melanated.
Mm,
Morocco, Tunis, Algiers, Tripoli. Those were your Britons. And your original Britons were melanated.
mm,
So what I'm saying to you, again, don't believe me, just go do your own research. And then we start to find out that all kind of lies are being told. It ain't just Albion's telling us lies. I need you to know that, Reginald. It's
mm,
the melanated people not being truthful with us.
mm. Well, that brings a major question. Why the big trick?
Okay, you or melanated folks, first of all, have an inheritance. Okay. And when we wake
Birthright.
up, yeah, we have a birthright. When we wake up, then certain people have to come into order. All right. And it's not, I need y'all to understand this, is not just Albions, so-called white people. They're not white. It's not just them that's doing this. Remember, I told you another group of people came in here, melanated. And those group of people enslaved the original people of this land. Those people who came in here, they were considered Europeans. They were melanated people. This is what people don't want to say. They don't want to tell the truth. But listen, we cannot grow and build. Yeah, they were more. The people who came into this land, they were Moors. They're the ones who wrote the Constitution. But there was original Constitution, the Iroquois Confederacy. All right, that original Constitution is or excuse me, that Constitution, it governed the people of the land all the way north of Canada to south to the tip of Argentina. It governed the people of the land. Europe is divided Rome. Okay, yeah. So I'm saying to you that we've got to recognize that there are people who in this land who are still working to this day with what we know of as the U.S. corporation or Britain to
Mm,
try to steal the land from the original people.
mm,
It's not just light-skinned people that are lying to us. And the thing is, I need y'all to understand there are Albions, so-called white people, who they're being used as puppets.
mm.
They're being used as puppets because people think they own something. They don't own nothing. Your Albion, your typical Albion, they don't own anything. When you look at who controls everything, there's a small group. They make up less than 10% of the people on the planet. And it ain't
Well,
your Albions.
I had this is a brain thought, and
Uh-huh.
it's almost two questions because especially now, younger people, what do you call them? Back in the day, they said it was Freemasons, the Illuminati, uh, different. They go by many names. These are the ones that control certain things. But I'm reminded, and they fight wars and battles and create incidents for the rest of us. I am reminded of a brother, Haile Selassie. Haile Selassie, emperor and king forever, as they say in Ethiopia. But he was able to, based on, certain laws that everybody, the modern day Europeans respected, which was his lineage back to a biblical person by the name of King Solomon. And they respected that brother all the way till he died. You know, and that's one of the reasons that was my introduction. Uh, because coming out of the South, I wasn't taught that black, what we could, I was told who I was according to, what they said I was. But when I would read about other people that had freedoms, not just freedom, rights, they walked on these rights. They walked on them just like a Messiah would, uh, and without restrictions. And that's I know you got some teachings and lessons and things, but what do you offer for exposure or training for the average person here? Just an introduction, not to hit them with the big the big smorgasbord, but I know you got something, some spoon fed or something they can do. We all can
Got
do.
some smoothies on it. Listen, let me say this, and I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you in a second. You said earlier, you talked about how we used to have all of our rights and people knew how to stand on their rights. And then you talked about Haile Selassie and how they respected him because of the biblical character. I don't know if you remember, but back in the day, people used to ride around in their cars with Bibles in their cars. Remember that? Used to
Hmm.
have a Bible in their car. That's what all your rights are in the Bible. Like, go back to these higher laws. All your rights are in the Bible. And so they respected him because he stood on God's law. And when you do that, man cannot come against you. When you standing with your God, man cannot come against you. That's just the law. So this is one of the things why I get into it. How do we get into it with our beginners? The first thing that I encourage people to study, because it's good when they've studied and then they come into the session, then it's not new to them, because it's a brain change. You got to change your brain. You got to come out of the thought, or be willing to listen and hear the new information. All right. UNA University, I talked about that. United Nations from America University. You can go to unauniversity.com and you can check out some of the sessions we have for this season. We have continuing ed sessions. We have which are like, they might last 1 day, 2 days. And then we have full university where we have 8-week sessions during our seasons. So you can go, if you're wanting a free consultation, go to unauniversity.com and check us out so that we can get you a free consultation, have a conversation with you, see where you are, and if you'd be eligible to be a part of the university. But the thing is, again, being willing, it's a mindset change, first of all. I tell people, and I have to make this clear, when people come to me, I have to let them know that you didn't just find me just because. If you finding me, then you're on a spiritual journey, on a spiritual walk. You're not just here just because, oh, I want the money, I want to be free. No, you get ready to be on a spiritual walk, because you got to find your higher self up here.
Mm.
These universal laws. So that's really important. So we have a class, it's called Back to Basics. That's getting you under trust, helping you understand what the documents you have to file, what the paperwork is, how you get under trust, why you're filing it here, who you're filing it with, all of these things to help you understand, because it is a lot of information. You got coming to the university. But other than that, we do have trust that we do offer to our members so that they can be recognized by UNA. They are a sovereign being recognized by another sovereign. That's a treaty. We create treaties. And yes, they are respected. Now, let me say this one more thing before I finish, because you said something about their constitution and how they use the constitution to keep you and give you privileges or whatever. What you want to recognize is that we create our own constitutions.
Mm.
And our constitution stands above their constitution. We have the right as sovereigns to create our own constitution. And yes, they have to be recognized. People say, well, they don't respect treaties. They don't respect treaties of people who don't know how to stand on them.
Mm.
But when you know how to stand, they'll respect your treaty. They'll respect your constitution. Okay?
I have a question. Okay. So you said both of y'all mentioned the Bible. Okay. The Bible, does that represent Christianity or just religion as a whole?
Okay. So the thing about the Bible, and I have to tell people, it really doesn't have anything to do with religion. It is and people say, oh, it's allegorical. Now, let me say this, please. And I'm going to upset somebody. Please forgive me, but I'm just going to tell you what the facts are. All right. The Bible is not the perfect word of God. It's not. Anything that is telling you I'm going to give you reasons why you know it's not. It's saying that there are left out books. If there's something left out, it can't be perfect. Secondly, it's copyrighted. You cannot copyright God's words. You can't. So if you scrolling through the first part of your book and you see something copyrighted and written under whatever press, it can't be the perfect word of God. Okay, so let's get that straight. There are lies in it. Let's get that straight. Nobody's saying, I have, and let me make this clear. I have full respect for the Bible because it's got power.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got truth. So people say, oh, it's allegorical. It's not real. No, it's a historically accurate book. It's a history book, a law book, a math book, a dietary law book, an astrology book. It's all kind of stuff. It's a legal book telling you how to get yourself out of bondage. It's all of that.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about, the Bible and your rights, it does not have, the Bible, going back to it, does not have anything to do with a religion. It is a historically book. It's a historical book. It's a history book. It's all those things I mentioned. But people want to put, oh, it's Christianity. Well, okay, Jesus was a Jew, supposedly, according to the book. What you talking about? So
Yeah.
no, it doesn't have. It's not a religious book. It's not just dealing with Christians. But here's the problem: religion uses the scriptures, and I'm not even going into history about where the scriptures come from, because I really make some people mad. But y'all can, get my history class, and we'll talk about it. But there's scriptures in this book, all right, that were taken and they were redacted and changed around. So you got to understand, the Bible comes into play in 300 AD. Those scriptures were around way in the BC. All right. So somebody has taken these scriptures, and I'm not going to tell you who wrote them. You can check my history session on that, but they've redacted, changed around, took the characters out, changed the characters, organize the stories and all that. Yeah. But no, it's not necessarily about Christianity. It's about the basics of how this dimension works. So when I start talking about the universal laws, they're all throughout the Bible. When you start looking at the things that Jesus supposedly did in the Bible, those are things that deal with universal laws. So you've got to listen. And I tell people about the spiritual side, and they want to just act like, oh, no, you know what? I don't know, that's spooky stuff. Let me tell you something. These people only operate off of the spiritual side. They full well know who you are as a spiritual entity, and they know this spiritual game up here. When you go into court and they say, all rise, that is a seance. Because what they're saying is, all you dead people, rise. Why? You see that all capital letter name? When you go into court, the only thing they can deal with is that all capital letter name. So when they say, all rise, all you dead people, rise. Why they got on a black robe? This is a seance. And you don't get the spiritual side of this game. What we going to teach you? Come into the university. You're going to learn today. Oh, sorry.
All right.
Okay.
Basic
Being woke.
instructions. What do we say? The Bible, basic instructions before leaving Earth.
And let me say, yeah, I get people who will say, I don't need nobody to tell me how I need to live my life. Listen. It took me a second, because I've been, just like most of us, we grew up in church, but we didn't really know what the Bible was about. Okay. And my cousin had to reintroduce me to what the Bible is. And when I first, because I wasn't going to read it, because I had started doing all of this studying, and I knew all this stuff. That's why I left the country. I was like, I know what's ready to come. Y'all ain't paying attention. I'm out of here, and I don't care. But the more I studied, the more I kept being led back to the Bible. I was like, I'm studying law. Why I keep hearing about the Bible? I'm studying dietary law. Why does the Bible keep coming up? I'm over here studying policy, foreign policy, and the Bible keeps coming up. Why? I ain't reading this book, though. That's what's in my mind. I'm not reading this book. But finally, my cousin reintroduced me to the Bible. And she was like, this book deals with melanated people. This is about our history. And so finally realized I got to read this book for myself. I have to read it. And so I'm reading the book in the Old Testament. There are all these laws. And when I first started reading, I was like, this is God. It is. And so, but I had to learn to temper that, because the more I started studying, the more I recognized somebody knew. When I look at, okay, I'm going to give you some examples. One, when I was eating, I had started gaining my blood pressure started getting high. My mother already had it. She was like, because I remember she went to the hospital for it. She was like, they told me I got to take these pills for my blood pressure for the rest of my life. I was like, forget that. I'm here to start working on making sure I eat the right thing. And I'm checking my blood pressure regularly, and I'm finding that when I eat certain things, my blood pressure spikes. I mean spike. And I was like, and so I'm eating pork. I'm eating anything, because if it was meat, I was eating it. I was like, oh, give me some pork, give me some chicken, give me some.
Just pray over it.
Give me some shrimp. Then I started reading the Bible, and the Bible is like, pork and shrimp are unclean. And I'm like, whatever. I'm ready, so I'm doing whatever. And I'm checking my blood pressure, and I'm noticing that every time I eat these things, my blood pressure spikes. So then, okay, all right, Bible, I see what you're saying. So then I go into another one. I'm reading there somehow, no mixed fabrics, no polyester. What if I want to wear polyester? I'm gonna wear polyester. I can wear. So I'm all in I'm still having to gain some maturity when I'm reading this book, because I'm like, this ain't right. So then I start reading this thing, and I want y'all to look it up. It's called The Secret Covenant. The Secret Covenant. And they're talking about all the things they're going to do to the people to keep them enslaved and keep them dumbed down. And one of them, we're going to poison their food. We're going to poison the air. We're going to poison the water. We're going to poison their clothes. Wait a minute. What? What you mean you're going to poison their clothes? Again, this is after I'm reading the Bible, then I get introduced to this. And then I'm like, what you mean poison their clothes? So I go and look up and do some research and kind of find out polyester is highly poisonous for forever. You can't wash the poison out of polyester.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I'm saying to you, as I kept reading, then it's talking about, grow your own foods. Don't do usury. That was one of the things that got the people, the Israelites, in the most trouble. Usury in the Bible. No usury. Why? Because when you're borrowing money with interest, you're enslaving yourself, and you're helping to pay for all kind of wars and all kind of things you don't even recognize. When you go borrow money for your car, your house, your whatever, you are encouraging them and helping them to continue to create these wars all over the place. We are the problem, because we don't understand. Somebody created this book because they knew. They was trying to warn you. Don't do this. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do this. Look, the closer you move to those laws in the Bible, the further you move from being in a part of their grasp. Grow your own food. You understand? We should be digging our own wells. We getting this water, they pumping into us from wherever they pumping it in. Refurbished pool water.
Woo!
Refurbished pool water.
Chlorine.
Okay. Because they told us we need to be using refurbished pool water, and we buying into it. Okay. But as soon as we start doing and moving closer to what the Bible said, all kind of issues go away. They go away. Usury is one of the main ways we keep funding them, because we don't understand. Well, we got all the funds. They belong to us. This is part of becoming sovereign and understanding what's going on in this game. Did I answer your question? I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because I was also thinking about, that Jesus,
What about him?
I grew up, this is part of the woke thing. I grew up with a white Jesus, all my life, white Jesus. But then when I woke up, I found out that Jesus had bronze skin and woolly hair. Now you don't find a white Jesus in my house anywhere. But yet and still, there's some people who still have it in there.
It was
And
in the book.
yeah, it was in the book.
What?
It was in the book.
Yeah, because we don't read. We didn't read that. So the thing is, if you're gonna blame somebody, blame your preacher. I told you, and I'm gonna say it again. Why Albion's not the only ones who are lying to you? Why your preacher didn't tell you that? Listen, let me say this: my mother and my father are preachers, and I had to go in because they became preachers later on in life. But I had to go in on them, especially my mother, because I'm like, how y'all preachers and y'all don't know this stuff about the Bible? Okay. And now I could talk to my dad, but my mom didn't want to hear it. She's like, okay, wait a minute. You understand? You got to understand that it is not just, this is why it's important for each of us to educate ourselves. It's important because now you are responsible for your own salvation. You have to go and do the research so that you can get right spiritually and be on this walk so that people can't keep stepping on you.
Ooh.
Yeah. You got to. There's so much we need to know and learn and wake up to.
I'd love to talk to you. I appreciate you all for having me here and allowing this conversation. I enjoy giving people the information. That's why we have the university, and I really do enjoy being able to help people along their path, because my job is just to give you the facts and then provide you with whatever tools I can to help you, in your stance. So yeah, we want to have you.
Okay, so it's time for us to go. You have any last comments? And please tell us how you can be reached.
Yeah, go find us at unauniversity.com, unauniversity.com, and send us a message over there. Either if you want to enroll, send us a message so that we can bring you on, all right, and do a consultation with you, and make sure you know what we're about, and then we can bring you on and put you in the class so that you can be on your way to at least learning how to stand. We have the university is a full-fledged university. You're going to learn things that judges don't know, lawyers don't know, accountants don't know. And even if lawyers did know it, they couldn't tell you because they lose their license. You're going to be powerful. I am what we call a civil supreme. Civil meaning knowledge of the law. Supreme meaning highest. A civil supreme. You become very, very powerful with the information that you're going to gain in the university. So we would love to have you. All right.
Okay. So if you have the knowledge and they don't know the knowledge, wouldn't that cause a conflict?
They'll know the knowledge. The ones who need to know the knowledge will know. So thank you for bringing that question up. Let's say you come up to a cop. All right. And we teach people how to stand when these agents come at them. But you come up to a cop, they're going to be gung-ho. They're going to be heavy-handed with you. I need to see a license and registration, please. And they're going to be, the first thing that you're supposed to be asking for is a supervisor. A supervisor, because a supervisor has a supervision. The cop don't know. See, this is the funny thing that somebody brought up. If you're a lawyer, you got to go through law school 4, 5, 6, 7 years before they allow you to practice. All right. But a cop, they go through 3 months of training, if that, and then they give these people a gun and a badge. And they're supposed to be upholding the law. They don't know nothing about law. As for the supervisor, they know a little bit more, and they know how to treat you differently.
Well, yes. You know what? I equate it to, now, I'm a science fiction person.
Okay.
If some entity came to this planet, the first thing they say, take me to your leader.
There you go. Take it to your leader. I need to see your supervisor because they have a supervision, and they're going to know better what the law is and how to deal with you. So the other thing is, once again, making sure your energies are right. Are you righteous? What have you been doing? Because again, if that cop is coming in your face, they're there to deliver an energy to you. Whatever energy you get from them is going to be determined by other energies that you've put out in the past, and then at that time when you're talking to them as well.
Keep your energy right.
Yeah, that's important. That's most important. Everything starts from the universal laws. And when you get that in order, all of these other laws down here, they're gonna become child's play.
Okay. You didn't know. Okay, Reggie, you want to give us any last thoughts before we get out of here?
Oh, make sure you like, subscribe, share, hit that notification button over here at Square Mile Media. Uh, Thank you, Ms. Diva, for your
It's been a
information, and you know
pleasure,
we got to bring
Reginal.
you back. Oh yes,
Oh,
ma'am.
let me know. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Sylvia.
Oh, you're welcome. I
And
want to
all
say
the people
thank
out
you
there.
too for coming on and enlightening us. I hope somebody woke up. Yeah.
Woo!
That was the topic. Woke. You know,
All
when
right.
our knowledge expand. So
All
hopefully
right.
somebody's knowledge has been expanded. So we're gonna get ready to get out of here. Uh, Always empower yourself. Always seek knowledge. Whatever it is, seek knowledge. If it's reading a billboard, seek the knowledge. Reading everything. Just read. Just learn all you can. I know a lot of people told me that I was nosy. I'm not nosy, I'm inquisitive. You know, there's a difference between being nosy and inquisitive. I love knowledge. I learn everything. You know, I love listening and learning stuff. And I want you to do the same thing. Knowledge is power. Don't forget that. Knowledge is power. Get woke, okay? When our knowledge expands, you have power. Knowledge is power. And so, with that, I'm going to also say, don't forget my book, Power Thoughts, Empowering You to Be Successful in Life. You want to get that book, you can also Google the book, Power Thoughts by Sylvia Hayes. You can Google it or go to AandKProductions.com. Either way, you can get that book. Knowledge is power. As I said again, until next week, y'all have a good one.